Video games are special. It's the only type of media that offers this much interactivity for the consumer. Reading a book, you immerse yourself in a world that author is trying to create in your head. Watching a movie, you observe a story that director portrayed for you on screen.
Starfish is a slang term for a butthole.
But playing video games, you are in the world. You are a part of the story. To me, there is nothing that compares to getting immersed in a well-crafted world inside a game. Sometimes created by one person, sometimes by a team of dozens of people, and sometimes even hundreds. However, not every story told in a video game can be replicated in other types of media. And we saw examples of that. I love The Last of Us. It's one of my favorite narratives in a game ever. But the way it's told is not unique to video games. That's why it wasn't hard for them to adapt it as a TV show. I don't like the idea of taking video games with great stories and worlds and then simply making them into live-action adaptations. To me, it seems like too many people just see games as something not worth looking at as a piece of art. Even after the pandemic that definitely boosted the amount of people interested in gaming, the idea of not taking video game media seriously stayed, and people won't care about getting into those amazing IPs until they get turned into a movie or a show. As I said about The Last of Us, the way its narrative is presented is not hard to recreate outside of the video game space. However, many developers are not taking the same approach. They create adventures and worlds that could only be experienced through games. They create stories that are unadaptable. They take advantage of what this interactive media has to offer, and what we get are some of the most unique experiences you could get with a piece of fiction. To truly showcase what I mean, I'm going to talk about some of my favorite examples of stories that could only be experienced in a video game. And don't worry, minor spoilers only. One of the best examples has to be Bioshock. Could you adapt the story for a show? I mean, I guess you could try, but you really can't replace that feeling of discovering Rapture for the first time and exploring this place, discovering more and more about this disgusting city. World building and storytelling of Bioshock is directly tied to gameplay. Whenever you find a note or audio log, your understanding of this world deepens, and the fact that it's all optional is what makes exploration feel so much more special and rewarding.
This is performance art. You guys can understand? This is a living painting that you see. Michelangelo, Leonardo, Da Vinci, they're all dead. I remain. You understand?
When you as a player find a little hidden event and go check what's up, you might discover a piece of visual storytelling that illustrates how fucked up this place really is. And no one directed you to go here, no one gave you this exposition out of nowhere. It's your curiosity being rewarded here. Visual storytelling has to be one of my favorite ways to experience a narrative, and video games excel at it. Throughout the game, you will also have to make choices, and those choices are designed to challenge players' morals. Do you want to have more power in exchange for doing hideous crimes? Go for it. But it's all tied into the story, and your choices will affect how the narrative plays out in the end. Choosing your own adventure has always been one of the biggest selling points of many games, and you can't deny that it is an awesome aspect of this media that can't really be replicated in other forms of entertainment, maybe only in tabletop games. The world of Bioshock and all its horrors are meant to be experienced in a game, and I believe that no other portrayal of the series could do it justice. Seeing Big Daddy on the big screen could be cool, I suppose, but it will never compare to facing him yourself. Since we have just talked about choices, we have to talk about RPGs, so let me introduce my favorite RPG of all time, Fallout New Vegas. This game is so incredible and packed with content, I honestly want to make a whole dedicated video on it, so subscribe. The world of New Vegas revolves around the player, and very few developers were able to achieve this level of interactivity in a story. Every interaction with different characters and factions counts, and you can change not only the story of your protagonist, but also the future of this entire place. As I said, every character counts, and unlike other new Fallout games, in New Vegas you actually get to kill every NPC that appears in your line of sight. And whenever a character is too important to be killed off early, writers do an incredible job explaining to the player why you can't reach them. An early example would be Victor. Victor is a robot and you can kill him, but since he is just an AI, later in the game he is going to come back in another robot body. Or Mr. House, a mysterious person who is very significant to the story, but since he is very afraid to get killed by some people who oppose his ideas, he only interacts with the player through a screen. You meet many factions in this game and all of them have different goals and follow different ideologies. After getting to know more about them by doing quests and learning more about stories of individual characters, you don't just get to look at what's going to happen, you choose who to side with and how you want to impact the story. You are not an observer, you are a participant. And after completing the game, developers kindly reward you with a presentation, showing how each of your choices changed New Vegas. The new Fallout show is getting quite a lot of praise, even my mom watched the entire thing and liked it. I personally personally haven't seen it, and to be honest, I have no interest in giving it a chance. I know the Fallout world as an interactive role-playing adventure about wanderers surviving in a hostile wasteland, and I don't think I care about this IP in any other format. To me, this is Fallout, and I wish more people could experience it the same way I did. I honestly could go on and on praising what New Vegas does right, but once again, it deserves its own time in the spotlight, so one day I'll come back to it. Well, choosing your own adventure is cool and all, but what about games that don't really involve any choices from players, yet still offer an experience that could only be played through? In my eyes, there is a game that stands above all when it comes to telling its story in a unique way, and if I ever meet someone who's very skeptical about video games, I would try my best to convince them to play this masterpiece. Well, maybe if controlling this fucking ship was easier. Outer Wilds is special for many reasons. Not only its visuals are beautiful and help to capture this magical feeling of going on adventure and discovering a new place, but the way you figure out the story is something else entirely. The game starts off by giving you 0 objectives, and it's basically going to stay that way till the end. The funny thing is, if you know what to do, the game can be completed in 10 minutes. But that's the thing, you don't know what to do, and figuring out what to do is your only objective. The game is meant to be experienced completely blind, but to talk about it in a tiny bit more detail, I will have to drop a slight spoiler that you will figure out in the first hour of playing. But if you are worried about that, then skip to the outro. Outer Wilds' story is happening in a time loop that lasts 20 minutes. By the end of it, you inevitably die and go back to your checkpoint. The only thing that stays consistent is your log, with all the information you manage to find on your journey. The game is open world, and you travel from planet to planet, discovering more and more about the past and the present of this universe. The amount of eureka moments you will have playing this game is insane. Every little piece of information and every discovery helps you connecting everything together, and this game will make you feel like an absolute genius at times. When the time comes and you put 2 final dots together, you will experience the most rewarding and surreal ending in video game history. Outer Wilds is a perfect example of an unadaptable story. The entire narrative revolves around players' input, which delivers the best interactive experience I have witnessed in any fictional work. Video game storytelling is still underappreciated by most, and I wish more people could see it the same way I do. We are in the age where adaptations of everything are very popular. I guess it generates a lot of money for companies, but no matter how good a video game adaptation will be, it's never going to surpass the original. Games are made with a certain idea in mind. People are not just choosing video games to tell their stories because it's easier or something. They have a very specific idea of how they want people to experience their work. And it makes me a bit upset seeing all those live-action adaptations of popular games getting released and announced now. I honestly feel like I'm being a bit of gatekeeper here, but I just want more people to appreciate the uniqueness of video game media, even though I know getting into the hobby can be quite overwhelming for newcomers. I hope you got the idea I was trying to present, and if you enjoyed my nonsense, consider subscribing to hear me yap some more.